in the College Station Regional. Grambling is the only HBCU school in the NCAA baseball tournament. The Tigers are looking for their first NCAA baseball tournament win. Despite a health scare Sunday on a flight from Miami to LA, Mike Tyson is still planning to fight Jake Paul on July 20th in Arlington, Texas. The 57-year-old Tyson needed medical attention at LAX after having symptoms of nausea and dizziness on the flight. Tyson is gearing up for his first fight since 2005. The Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years. They swept Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics await the winner of the Dallas-Minnesota series in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When I move my body, I feel like freedom.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
West of the Mississippi.
And they wondered if a black talk radio station would work in Southern California.
Y'all did it!
Well, KBLA Talk 1580 toasts its 3rd anniversary on Juneteenth, and you're invited to celebrate with us.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, y'all the bomb!
All you have to do is go to KBLA1580.com right now and sign up. Admission is free, but mandatory, and space is limited. Once we reach capacity, we'll have to cut off the online registration, but it's open right now.
Oh, my God.
So don't delay.
Thank you guys for being the best at what you do.
Log on to KBLATalk1580.com right now and register to join us for an afternoon of good music, good people, and good vibes.
Happy anniversary.
Wednesday, June 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We will provide the food and drink, but be sure to bring your low-back chairs, blankets, and your personal picnic baskets.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Let's celebrate 3 years of being the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of news and information.
We love you, KBLA.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're black and stride again.
Black and stride again.
Happy anniversary.
1, 2, 3, go. I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Yeah. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Now, now, don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back and style again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations up first. On January 30th, 2022, April Simpkins opened her phone to a text message from her daughter, Chesley Christ, a former Miss USA. By the time you get this, I won't be alive anymore. And it makes me even more sad to write this because I know it will hurt you the most, the text read. April Simpkins joins us at the top of hour 2 today to discuss the unbearable pain of losing a child, honoring Chesley's last wish, and finding renewed purpose through adversity. You all recall that story of this former Miss USA jumping to her death in New York City. Her mother joins us again today at the top of hour 2. On the B side of hour 2, Jacqueline Patterson, Time Woman of the Year and founder of the Chisholm Legacy Project, joins us to discuss her revolutionary approach to climate justice as part of our continuing year-long series and in advance of our historic Climate Justice Symposium featuring an all-star roster of brilliant black thinkers and climate change makers, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on C-SPAN. Mark your calendars right now. We're going back live on C-SPAN with these black think tanks. We'll do another one again on June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern, live on C-SPAN with an all-star panel talking about the urgency of now, climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. Mark your calendars, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, live on C-SPAN. In our third hour,
Halloween is coming up, Mark.
Yes.
Now, are you a fan of Halloween?
Look, I got Halloween socks on. Look at that. I love Halloween. Halloween's a good day. I feel sorry for crack addicts on Halloween because they don't know it's Halloween.
No, they don't.
They don't know it. Is that Batman? There goes Superman. I thought he was bigger than that. Oh, there's some good stuff I'm on. But see, I got daughters, and Halloween is expensive. It's more expensive than Christmas.
Yes.
Because those costumes cost $50 a piece.
Yes.
And back in the day, my mama didn't buy that. My mama said put boxes on us. That was it.
They put a box on you?
Mama put boxes on. What are we? I think we UPS. I don't know. What? My brother, she told, turn your coat inside out. Who am I? You yesterday. No, go on, bro.
yesterday. We are hanging with Mr. Curry, a.k.a. actor and comedian Mark Curry, in our third hour today. Look forward to a career conversation with Mark when he once again comes in studio today in our final hour. But in this first hour today, let's talk politics with political commentator, a politician and author, Bakari Sellers. His new book is titled The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We All Can Move Forward Now. We'll unpack that text in this hour, I promise you. Kirkus Reviews calls the book an urgent, astute synthesis of many hard truths. But we start this hour with some breaking news with Bakari Sellers. Bakari, good to have you on today, sir. How are you?
Man, thank you. It's an honor to be with you, and thank you for allowing me to grace your platform. Hope you're well.
My honor to have you on. Thank you, sir. Let me jump into some news that is breaking. You do this for CNN regularly, so you know how this works, and I promise we'll work through this book as we move through this hour. Glad we have you for the full hour. Here's what Donald Trump had to say as he walked into the courtroom today, where closing arguments are underway even as we speak. I quote from Mr. Trump, "This is a dark day in America. We have a rigged court case that should have never been brought," he told reporters. We'll see how it goes, quoting Trump once again. "This is a very dangerous day for America. It's a very sad day," close quote. That's what Trump had to say on his way in, Bakari Sellers. Who knows what happens by the time he walks out today? We are told the jury may or likely will get this case on Wednesday, but closing arguments are underway. I ain't got to cover it that much more for you. What say you about this trial and the fact that now we have finally arrived at closing arguments?
Well, this trial was long. I think it was long. It was tedious. I think for a lot of us, we thought this was probably the weakest of the cases that he was facing. But as the government, as the district attorneys in New York put their case on, we realized that it had a great deal of strength. It probably isn't still as strong as the RICO case in Georgia or the confidential documents case in Florida or the January 6th case in Washington, D.C., but this case is a very strong case. It's amazing. The weakest link to this case is actually one of my friends, Michael Cohen, and I think it's going to turn on whether or not the jury believes that the government's put on enough information to kind of override the narrative that Michael Cohen was dishonest about this. And we shall see. I mean, it's very likely that the Republican nominee for president of the United States will be a convicted felon. And so that is something that is unprecedented. And I can be honest with all you and your listeners that I'm ready to get back to precedented times. I'm tired of always living in unprecedented times, but here we are.
Did you refer to Michael Cohen as one of your friends?
Michael Cohen and I, ever since he's left the armpit of the 45th president of the United States, has been a regular on air and has had me on his show a few times. And he's after he got out of prison, I guess we can say he's had to come to Jesus. He's a decent guy trying to atone for all of his wrongs that he did in the past. I don't know if he'll have enough time to atone for them all, but he is on that path of redemption, to say the least.
Let's talk about that a bit more. I did not realize that you and Michael Cohen, one of the star witnesses in this case. If there are two witnesses that are stars, it'd be Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. But you heard Bakari Sellers say that he and Michael Cohen are friends. I want to just probe that a little bit more. A few other things, of course, to talk about in this hour. Everybody, of course, is, I think, disturbed today. Not strong enough word, but disturbed by what we saw in Rafah and all of these Palestinian refugees who have been killed, maimed, murdered. Just a sad day. All the way around. Donald Trump may be right about the fact that it's a very dangerous day. It's a very sad day, not because of his trial, but because of what happened in the Middle East. We'll get to that and a few other things. And, of course, we will work through this book, Bakari's new book called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We Can All Move Forward Now, 4 years after the murder of George Floyd. I'm glad to have him on. Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze Fruit on the Go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with Bakari Sellers. His new book is called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We All Can Move Forward Now. Delighted to have him on this program. Bakari, before I jump again to some other issues that are breaking even as we speak, back to your comment about Michael Cohen. I didn't expect that you and Michael Cohen are friends. Nothing wrong with that, of course. But my questions, actually 2 or 3 of them, right quick here. One, how do you think he did on the stand? Much of this case that the jury, we are told, will get likely on Wednesday will turn on whether or not they found Michael Cohen to be credible. There's no doubt about the fact that he was involved as the middleman, as it were, in getting these payments to Stormy Daniels to keep her quiet, to aid and abet Donald Trump's chances of winning the election, which, of course, he ultimately did some years ago. But he was also picked apart a couple of days by Mr. Trump's defense team on his lying, being less than candid, stealing money from the Trump organization, all the stuff that you know and the rest of us know, sort of following this as best we could to the extent that we wanted to. Many just kind of tuned it out. But the point is that Michael Cohen is going to be central, I suspect, to the jury's decision about this case. I assume you agree with that, and if you do, how do you think he did?
I agree with you, and I actually thought that I thought Trump's lawyers were very nimble, and one of the things your listeners may or may not know about me is I actually do a lot of criminal defense work, and so just from a pure legal perspective, I didn't think they had much to work with in terms of a defense, and I still think that it's pretty clear that he violated these statutes, he being Trump, but they made it muddy enough, and they were able to muddy up Michael Cohen, and so I that is going. The believability, and when the judge charges the jury with how they're supposed to deliberate, one of the things he'll say is that you can, the character of a witness is important, and you don't have to believe everything they say, or you can believe part of what they say, and I think that that's going to be important for Michael Cohen, whether or not this jury believes him or not. That you are asking the correct question.
Because you do some criminal defense work, I don't expect you to have a crystal ball any more than anybody else, obviously. We have no idea what the jury instructions are going to be until Wednesday, and we don't know how this jury ultimately is going to decide. What we do know, Bakari Sellers, is all Mr. Trump needs is one. He just needs one. He needs one person to not see it the prosecution's way. Based on what you've seen, how would you rate or rank or frame the possibilities that Donald Trump will get that one that he needs?
I think he'll be found guilty, and I think he'll be a convicted felon going forward. I just think it's going to take the jury a while to comb through it. I mean, I still think prosecutors did a really, really good job of presenting their case, and I think the evidence is overwhelming. And they have to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That doesn't mean beyond any doubt at all. No human being is beyond any doubt, but usually reasonable doubt is defined as leaving you firmly convinced. And so I believe the jury will be firmly convinced of his guilt. But again, I mean, let me just remind people that juries are made up of what? Voters. People forget that all the time. And sometimes I'm taken aback by the fact that over 70 million voters in America voted for Donald Trump. That for me is somewhat of an unbelievable number. And so I use that as an example to say this jury could do absolutely anything.
Yeah. Twice now, by my count, maybe 3 times, but certainly 2 times, you've used the phrase that he'd be campaigning as a convicted felon. That's a great line. It sounds good to this particular audience, I suspect, and yet I'm not sure that line, campaigning as a convicted felon, matters at all to those 70 million people who voted for Donald Trump last time. Put another way, those persons who are part of his MAGA crew. I'm not sure that phrase, campaigning as a convicted felon, matters at all. It might even be a badge of honor, Bakari Sellers.
Yeah, but I would caution you that this race is not going to be determined by the masses. This race is going to be determined around the fringes, and I would argue that if it affects 2 or 3% that's more than enough for Joe Biden to be president of the United States. And so, no, you're right. It ain't going to change his base or the way his base feels about him. But, I think that I believe this race is going to come down to college-educated white women in the suburbs. And because of the salaciousness of this, because of the details of this, I think it's going to have an effect there where it matters.
Yeah. Why do you think, I'm always fascinated by the insights of pollsters and pundits and prognosticators and persons like you who talk about these issues every single day. Why do you think the race comes down to that particular group?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, let's just walk through the analysis. First, I look at this race as between 3 people.
Okay.
And I always frame it this way. A lot of people look at this race incorrectly. This race is between Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and the couch. And the couch is a really, really successful candidate, as you know. The couch don't run no ads where people show up for year after year after year. So that you have to start there, and then you have to just kind of map it out. This race is going to be, I think it's going to be played more in North Carolina than Georgia. You go to Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. Those are the states, Pennsylvania, those are the states where this race is going to be won. And in those cities, a few things. That black women are going to turn out at 90+%. Black men are going to turn out at 85, 87+%. And then around the edges in those suburbs, it kind of leaves you with one group of individuals, one demographic, and those are college-educated white women who voted against Hillary Clinton, against their own self-interest in 2016. They voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Mm-hmm. Where will they fall in 2024, I think is the question.
Yeah. What will it mean? What will historians say in the years to come, Bakari Sellers, if Joe Biden loses this race to the couch?
Well, I mean, I think both, and this is the only time I mention them in the same sentence, and this is actually something I talk about in the book a little bit, but both of them, uniquely enough, have the same problem, and that problem is that they have an inability to talk about the future or give a vision for what the future should be. And I'm not sure if it's because they're prisoners of age, but neither one of them, they both want to talk about the past. I mean, Donald Trump does it more as a function of grievance, and Joe Biden has this weird nostalgia for yesteryear. But neither one of them do a good job articulating what a vision for the future should be. And I think, I don't know if there's such thing as an 81 or 82-year-old visionary, but Joe Biden is going to have to do that. It'll be the first one if he's going to be president of the United States.
Somebody on this program last week, Bakari, said to me, and it kind of jumped out at me when they said it, in the way they framed it more precisely, that it's not just that they're old. The age thing is a legitimate conversation. We could debate that. But there are a lot of brilliant older Americans in this country. It's not just that they're old, but that their ideas are old. I think I hear you offering a version of that frame, that it's not their age per se, but the age of their ideas.
I agree with that. I mean, whoever said that, that's a astute analysis. It's ideas, but it actually is a function of energy too. I mean, one of the reasons that I said this on CNN last week. I mean, people don't vote for Donald Trump because of his policy prowess. I mean, he has the policy depth of a shallow bathtub. They vote for him because he exuded a certain level of strength and energy. And he's getting up in age where he doesn't even have the same strength he had in 2016 or the same energy he had then. And so there is a little bit of both of those in it, but I think that your guest was right in that the staleness of the idea is most important.
The name of that guest just came back to me. I like to give people attribution and credit for their brilliance. Stephen Kinzer is his name. Stephen Kinzer, you recall, was one of our guests last week on this program. We do guest every hour, every half hour or so. But you recall perhaps that brilliant conversation with the former foreign affairs reporter for the New York Times. Stephen Kinzer was just on fire last week for a full hour, as is Bakari Sellers right about now. But Stephen Kinzer from the New York Times was the one who made that comment that it's not just they're old, it's that their ideas are old. And I've been noodling on that, marinating on that, since Stephen offered that analysis on this program last week. So if, in fact, back to Joe Biden, this couch, I love your frame, that it's the race between, and I thought you might say Bobby Kennedy. No, he went with the couch. He went with Biden, Trump, and the couch. So that, let me come back to that couch. If Joe Biden loses this race, Bakari Sellers, to the couch, I think both you and I can agree that part of the appeal of the couch will be Joe Biden's policy in the Middle East. Every poll, every study, every survey I've seen suggests that not just in Michigan and Wisconsin, but beyond, there may be a lot of people who will sit this election out because they are disaffected and they feel really disturbed, a certain angst they feel about his policy in the Middle East. I use that as a way into the breaking news of today. We all saw these Palestinian refugees that were killed in this attack gone awry, mistake by the Israeli military. Bibi Netanyahu got out front right quick and basically said it was a tragic mistake, and yet it is what it is, and yet they've not pulled back from their offensive in Rafah. And as goes Bibi Netanyahu, one could argue goes Joe Biden, given that Joe Biden has tied himself to Bibi. Never mind the criticism every blue moon, but he's tied himself to Bibi, he's tied himself to Israel, and that is going to be one of the appeals of the couch, is it not?
I think maybe.
Okay.
I would articulate that's a maybe.
Okay.
I think we just had some recent polling out of Michigan that showed that Joe Biden is still winning amongst young people, even with this issue looming. And the reason I say maybe is because, I mean, it doesn't really take a whole lot of rocket science or deduction for the simple question to be answered. And people hate the pragmatism or sometimes the perversion of politics. But the question is, would things be better in Gaza if Donald Trump was president? And the answer to that is no. Are things progressing the way you want them to progress under Joe Biden? The answer to that is no. But there will be absolutely no guardrails in place. And people will then retort and say it doesn't appear to be any now. But the administration is working, and I would argue that Hamas is an impediment to peace, but I also argue along the same lines that you just framed the question that Bibi Netanyahu is an impediment and threat to peace as well. And I think that you're starting to see individuals speak out about that in ways that they haven't spoken out about it before. But in terms of just the political calculation, I'm hard-pressed to find someone who is concerned about the Middle East and says, well, one, either let me vote for Donald Trump, or two, let me sit this race out, understanding that sitting this race out means that Donald Trump likely will be president again.
Yeah. Let me circle back to Donald Trump one more time and to your friend Michael Cohen one more time. Then I want to spend the rest of this hour, the last half hour, talking specifically about your book, The Moment, thoughts on the race reckoning that wasn't and how we all can move forward now. We will frame that conversation in light of the 4th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd for the rest of this hour. But in my final 2 minutes right here before we come forward, I want to circle back to something you said about Michael Cohen a moment ago, because I think there's something philosophical here that might be worth hearing from you, for me, and for the audience. And that is what you think, given your earlier statements, Michael Cohen can say or is saying to the rest of us about matters of atonement and redemption when we've made mistakes, when we've gone the wrong way.
I mean, I think that's a human question, and one that we don't answer well in this McDonaldized society, because we're so quick to cancel. And I fundamentally have a problem with that, because I'm imperfect, that I've made enough mistakes in my lifetime and will make more mistakes tomorrow. But I'm a big believer in the word grace. I think grace is the most valuable word that we have in the English language. And I think it's a verb. It works. You have to work towards that to be deserving of such. And, individuals who first acknowledge any wrongs or ills, I think if we get beyond this cancel culture and get to the fact that people deserve some level of grace, because, you're going to be in the barrel one day. And that's what I tell folks. It's going to be, on Twitter or X or whatever Elon Musk has destroyed, whatever it's called, I tell folk all the time, but you don't want to be Twitter's main character. That should not be your goal for the day. But, sometimes you find yourself in the barrel, and sometimes you make mistakes. And when you make those mistakes, if you acknowledge them, then I believe you deserve grace. And that's the same way I look at Michael Cohen.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Bakari Sellers at all on that point. Grace is a powerful word, and more than that, it's a verb. And astutely put, again, no disagreement there about the power of grace. That said, when we come forward for the rest of the hour, we'll dig into this book. It's called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We All Can Move Forward Now. The author of that book is our guest right now on Tavis Smiley. His name is Bakari Sellers.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Closing arguments start today in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City. Trump's defense team is expected to go first, and then prosecutors will give their closing arguments. Deliberations could start as soon as tomorrow. A jury is trying to decide whether Trump falsified business records to cover up alleged hush money payments made to an adult film star just prior to the 2016 election. In Maryland, 103-year-old World War II veteran William Billy Keyes attended the Orioles Memorial Day game at Camden Yards in Baltimore. During the war, Keyes was a member of the primarily African-American 761st Tank Battalion known as the Black Panthers, who liberated 30 towns and a Jewish concentration camp. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Need money for the holidays? Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan on your tax refund, up to $1,000. Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the Grambling State University baseball team. They won the SWAC tournament to qualify for the NCAA Division I tournament. Grambling has a first-round matchup Friday against Texas A&M in the College Station Regional. Grambling is the only HBCU school in the NCAA baseball tournament. The Tigers are looking for their first NCAA baseball tournament win. Despite a health scare Sunday on a flight from Miami to L.A., Mike Tyson is still planning to fight Jake Paul on July 20th in Arlington, Texas. The 57-year-old Tyson needed medical attention at LAX after having symptoms of nausea and dizziness on the flight. Tyson is gearing up for his first fight since 2005. The Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years. They swept Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics await the winner of the Dallas-Minnesota series in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale is here. Get a Sleepy's Queen mattress at the lowest price ever, just $89.99. This deal ends Tuesday, so don't wait. Visit Mattress Firm and save over 60%. In-store pickup only, while supplies last. Find your nearest one today.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and Clear Skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
I'm going out with the girls this weekend. Nails done, outfit stunner, and my skin, I know it's going to be glowing because I glammed up my shower routine with new Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. It smells so luxurious and moisturizes deep into my skin with its super rich, creamy lather that's bursting with vitamin B3. So my skin glows and my confidence grows. Try new Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash for glowing skin in just 14 days.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California, home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you black. Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Bakari Sellers, our guest in this hour. He, as you well know, is a noted commentator on CNN, but also the author of a new book. It's called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We All Can Move Forward Now. I don't make it my habit, Bakari, to ask two questions at one time, but I know you can handle it. So let me weave these two things together and get out of your way. The first question is the obvious, to my mind at least, why the race reckoning wasn't. Why did we not have a race reckoning, if I can say it, as many thought we would, post the murder of George Floyd 4 years ago, and weaved with that, and I'll stand down and yield to the gentleman from South Carolina. The second part of that is whether or not, and I was reading a bunch of articles, of course, over the last few days about this fourth anniversary, and one of them was raising the provocative question about whether or not 4 years since George Floyd's murder, the racial justice movement has lost the fight. Has the racial justice movement lost the fight? Those are my two questions. Why wasn't there a race reckoning? And 4 years later, has the racial justice movement lost the fight? Bakari.
Both really good questions. And so let's start with this. Maybe it was my youthful naivete that believed that we were on the precipice of a third Reconstruction. But I think that if we look back at what happened since, Breonna, Ahmaud, George, all around the same time, and COVID, you asked the question, why wasn't there? And it's simply because we never took the time to address the underlying ills of our country. For example, COVID is what I talk about a lot in the book. People never really asked the question, why are black folk dying at higher rates than anybody else, save for Native Americans, due to COVID? And I'm from Denmark, South Carolina. We got 3 stoplights and a blinking light. But I grew up in a community where I had a food desert, which means I couldn't go a mile or two and get access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So that means that we got the unhealthy items. You go in there to the store, you get the pound of sugar and 10 packs of Kool-Aid for $1, and then you end up with the sugar, as we call it down south. I don't know what y'all call it.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing, the sugar. This the sugar anywhere you go.
Yeah, you end up with the sugar. You get those processed meats. You end up with high blood pressure, all these preventable illnesses, right? And then, I live in a community where our infrastructure was so broken that the city actually used a treatment in the water that ended up, poisoning the water, for lack of a better term. And so you look at that, and so now you're drinking water that's unhealthy as well. And then our hospital closed, like many poor rural hospitals. And so you don't have access to quality care. You don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. You're drinking unclean water, and some communities breathing in unclean air. And then you overlay it with the pandemic. It's no wonder black folk die at higher rates. And we never really asked those questions. We got the $1,800 checks or whatever it was and kind of turned the page. And some of us were dealing with so much death and stress at the time that we weren't able to have those conversations. And I just feel like it was a missed moment. Now, is the battle lost? I'm not ready to count us out yet. I don't think the movement ever really ended. You have to recall that we've only been full citizens in the country since the passage of the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act. And so I still think that if you think back to, whether or not it's Jimmy Lee Jackson or Emmett or Meggers or my father or Henry Smith, Samuel Hammond, Delano Middleton or Marion or Julian or all of these heroes and heroines, that work that they were doing, it still continues. There's a direct line between Emmett Till and George Floyd. And so understanding those correlations, I'm not ready to adjudicate this battle as being done or over or won or lost. I'm just saying that after we missed this third Reconstruction, I don't like the term because I just don't like it, but I can't think of another one. I'm stealing it from Van Jones, but we had a white lash, and that happens after every period of Reconstruction in this country.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier there have been a number of persons, of course, who have been high on this book in their commentary publicly about it. I mentioned and quoted from Kirkus Reviews, who said that the book is an urgent, astute synthesis of many hard truths. I come back to that because my sense is that there wasn't a race reckoning in part because the country is still not ready writ large to wrestle with those hard truths. You disagree with that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't think we're going to disagree on much on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that the issue of race has always been one that people don't want to talk about. But, we were going through this period of 6 or 7 months where we were finally having those, I believe they were coined as uncomfortable conversations. And we were beginning to have those uncomfortable conversations. And I don't know what really happened. I woke up one morning and the rights that we fought for were being taken away. You look at what happened at Duke University or the University of North Carolina system, where they got rid of their entire DEI department and funneled that into their police services. Or you look in Arizona, where they passed the antiquated abortion bill from the 1800s. Or you look at what happened to affirmative action. Or you even look at one of y'all homeboys, Clarence Thomas. He just last week took an assault to Brown versus the Board of Education. I believe that's what's coming next. And so it's sad because we haven't made progress, and progress hasn't been stagnant, but we've been losing progress since George Floyd and others.
Since you went there, let me follow you right quick. Nothing Clarence Thomas does these days surprises me. There was a point at which some years ago, a couple of decades ago, he would say or do something. And I would be a little bit shocked because I knew who he was, but it was just so far afield. I've tempered that now, so there's nothing tempered my expectation that he'll ever say or do the right thing is what I meant by that. So there's nothing that Clarence Thomas can say or do that would really surprise me. But I tell you that his commentary on that Brown v. Board thing was just I'm still searching for a language. For the phraseology to describe how it made me feel, but that was just so beyond the pale, Bakari.
Yeah, not only was it beyond the pale. So what I've deduced and what I wrote about in the book is that the cruelest trick that white folk ever pulled on black folk in this country was replacing Thurgood Marshall with Clarence Thomas. Now, I'm hard pressed to find anybody who can find a more cruel trick that was pulled on us. And I think you're seeing evidence of that. And the wild part about it is you see him go after Roe, and you see the way that they attacked Roe v. Wade. It's only logical that they would attack Obergefell, which is gay marriage, in a very similar way. And what's next? But, any legal scholar or lawyer who's actually studied anything will tell you that what's next would be Loving. And I would not be surprised if he maybe recused himself or just didn't vote, but allowed Loving to be repealed as well, which would directly affect him. I mean, it's just the irony and the rich irony of him attacking things that of people who look like him. Yeah. He doesn't identify with us, but people who look like him. It's cruel, to say the least.
And my view on that, you said earlier we won't disagree on much in this conversation. We do part company a little bit on this. My view has always been that he won't let them touch Loving. He is now the most senior member of the court, and he won't let them touch Loving because he is married to a white woman. For those of you who are not constitutional scholars. Bakari just jumped into that. You recall the movie Loving, the film. If you don't know the court case, this is the case that allowed for interracial marriage in this country. A case out of Virginia many years ago, a case called Loving. And so you hear Bakari suggesting that he may let them undo Loving. As long as he's married to that white woman named Jenny, I'm not so sure he'll let them touch a Loving, but who knows? Bakari could be right and I could be wrong. More with Bakari Sellers talking about his new book, The Moment, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hi, Tavis Smiley here. We're getting closer to June 18th, and time is running out for you to register to join us for our historic symposium live on C-SPAN, Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com right now if you want to be in the audience when the nation will see for the first time ever a stage full of brilliant black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's all going down. Well, it's actually all going up. Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. live from the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Again, admission is free, but we're filling up fast. So if I were you, I would log on right now to KBLA1580.com to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Watching my time with Bakari Sellers, and I want to get to your strong, and I do mean strong, critique of conservative media that you lay out in the book, The Moment. That is the name of the new book by Bakari Sellers. Once again, it's called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We All Can Move Forward Now. Before I get to that critique, I'm thinking of Joe Biden, who we were talking about earlier, and I sent word to the president some weeks ago that there is a line he uses that I like, and I think you ought to lean into it a bit more. And that is, that line he's uttered, promises made, promises kept. He runs down his list, promises made, promises kept. Nice line. That works a little bit. And so I come to that because I am wondering how you read all the promises made and the promises that were not kept by institutions, organizations, corporations after the murder of George Floyd 4 years later. It unnerves me when I think about all those promises made that they were going to do better, and all those promises that were not kept, and to your point, places like Duke and beyond that are just wiping out their D&I programs less than 4 years later.
Yeah, I look at that with the level of kind of Nixon. You recall when Nixon said, what did he say? Trust but verify, right?
Trust but, yeah.
It's been, I think, for many of us, it's been more than disheartening to watch these people make these promises and then not keep them, and devalue our struggle and devalue our pain. And so, as Joe Biden uses a line and then correctly runs down his list of accomplishments, I think we have to have one of the people I love and adore is somebody like Rashad Robinson, who runs Color of Change. And they go through this process whereby they look at those promises, and you have a clear, transparent denotation of whether or not those promises were kept. I guess the question that I ask, and one of the questions that, hopefully people think about when they read this book is, where do we go from here? Mm-hmm. That's one of the questions that kind of drives me crazy. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I know you said Nixon. You probably meant Ronald Reagan. It was Reagan who said "trust but verify." That was a Ronald Reagan phrase.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Ronald Reagan.
I know what you meant. They're all Republicans. I know exactly what you meant. It was Ronald Reagan. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Bakari Sellers, I want to give him the microphone to share just a quick bit. That's all I have time for. This strong critique he has in this book of the conservative media. I'll let him unpack it in his own words when we come forward in our remaining moments with Bakari Sellers talking about his new book. It's called The Moment.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. Benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Bakari Sellers, author of the new book called The Moment. Thoughts on the race reckoning that wasn't and how we all can move forward now. I've got about 4 minutes left. before we move forward into the next hour of this program. So I want to yield it to Bakari Sellers to just unpack what he writes about in this book. It is a strong, strong critique of conservative media. Bakari, tell us what you can in the few minutes that we have, sir.
Well, I mean, I think you can identify it and your listeners can as well. What drove me crazy one night is when I was able to see a clip of Tucker Carlson doing a segment on the Great Replacement theory, which, as some may know, is a sociological theory that's just rooted in racism. And the fact that he was able to do this to a captive audience of millions of people, and the fact that before he went on, he had multi-million-dollar companies sponsoring him, and then after he went off, multi-million-dollar companies sponsoring him as well, showed me that racism now, for the first time in a long time, has been monetized in a way that brings it out the fringes, has been monetized in a way that pulls it out the darkness, and now you have people who you have these silos. You have conservative radio where you don't have to have any level of intellect. I'm thinking Charlie Kirk and others, or you could be Ben Shapiro or Clay Travis and have your own shows. And what I've deduced is that the races that we once talked about no longer have white sheets with the eyes poked out. Instead, they have Brooks Brothers suits and they get their own drive time radio slots. And so I wanted to call it out and say that this is a virus and a cancer that virus and a cancer that we just have to deal with, and we haven't.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this, and you may or you may not, but it's something that I lose sleep about from time to time, and that is what we do about the fact, to your point, everybody has access to a microphone. Everybody has access to post what they believe. And I'm not so sure that, I think there's anything wrong with that, except that I don't know how to reel it in. And that's a conversation beyond the mainstream media. It's a conversation beyond the corporate media, which I have issues with. I've said many times, the corporate media made Donald Trump. They created this monster. Now they want to destroy him. They build you up to tear you down. They're making money and getting clickbait, putting clickbait out there. Either way, they're doing well. When Trump is in or out, they're making money. But I don't know how to reel it in, Bakari.
Yeah, we let them get their toe under the tent, and now they just kind of monopolize it. I think you're right. It's something that we have to talk about. But as long as people are still patronizing these businesses and companies that go out and are sponsoring these individuals who are definitely counter to our best interest, it's going to continue to be that way. I wish that they would stop selling podcast mics, because everybody got their own doggone podcast right now. It just seems like everybody's going to Walmart getting a podcast mic and saying whatever they want to say.
That's pretty much how it works. And as I say all the time, as arrogant as it might sound, all opinions are not created equal. That's my view, that all opinions are not created equal, but I digress in that regard. His opinion matters, and you get it often on CNN and beyond. His name is Bakari Sellers. His new book is called The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't, and how we all can move forward now. Bakari, I've enjoyed the conversation immensely. Thanks for the sharing, and good to have you on this program, sir. All the best to you.
I love you so much, and thank you for using your platform in the way that you do.
You are too kind. Love you back, man. Stay strong. When we come forward in the next hour of this program, another conversation that I've been looking forward to, although it's going to be dicey, I think, or navigating through this one, but we are honored to have April Simpkins on. She is the mother of former Miss USA, Chesley Christ, and the book is called By the Time You Read This, The Space Between Chesley's Smile and Mental Illness. We'll talk about that part, as they say, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Closing arguments start today in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City. Trump's defense team is expected to go first, and then prosecutors will give their closing arguments. Deliberations could start as soon as tomorrow. A jury is trying to decide whether Trump falsified business records to cover up alleged hush money payments made to an adult film star just prior to the 2016 election. In Maryland, 103-year-old World War II veteran William Billy Keyes attended the Orioles Memorial Day game at Camden Yards in Baltimore. During the war, Keyes was a member of the primarily African-American 761st Tank Battalion known as the Black Panthers, who liberated 30 towns and a Jewish concentration camp. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Need money for the holidays? Avoid the yikes before Christmas. Hurry into Jackson Hewitt for a holiday loan on your tax refund, up to $1,000. Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the Grambling State University baseball team. They won the SWAC tournament to qualify for the NCAA Division I tournament. Grambling has a first-round matchup Friday against Texas A&M in the College Station Regional. Grambling is the only HBCU school in the NCAA baseball tournament. The Tigers are looking for their first NCAA baseball tournament win. Despite a health scare Sunday on a flight from Miami to LA, Mike Tyson is still planning to fight Jake Paul on July 20th in Arlington, Texas. The 57-year-old Tyson needed medical attention at LAX after having symptoms of nausea and dizziness on the flight. Tyson is gearing up for his first fight since 2005. The Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years. They swept Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics await the winner of the Dallas-Minnesota series in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
Good morning or evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster. Could change your joy and laughter to tears and pain. It's that love in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hey, going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far.
On January 30th, 2022, April Simpkins opened her phone to a text message from her daughter, Chesley Chris, a former Miss USA. By the time you get this, I won't be alive anymore, and it makes me even more sad to write this because I know it will hurt you the most, the text read. April Simpkins joins us now to discuss the unbearable pain of losing a child, honoring Chesley's last wish, and finding renewed purpose through adversity. April, it's an honor to have you on this program. Thank you for the time. How are you today?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing good today. Honestly, I've had to develop new routines in my mornings, and today was no different. So I take every morning as it comes, and today is a good day. It's a good morning.
Yeah. I love, and I felt it. I didn't just hear it. I felt it when you said, I'm doing good today. Good today. I assume that means, obviously, that some days are tougher than others.
Yes, sir. Some days are really tough. Part of my morning routine for many years was talking to Chesley, chatting with Chesley, or texting Chesley first thing every morning. And so it's been over 2 years since she passed, but the mornings are still very hard for me. It's like a constant reminder that she's not with me physically.
Tell me about that name, Chesley.
I'll tell you, Chesley's middle name is Corrine, and she is a fourth-generation Corrine. My grandmother, mother, myself, and Chesley all have the same middle name, which is where we carry our family names. Chesley actually was a name that was picked out of a name book. We wanted something different, and Chesley was different, and we went with it.
So that's her name. Tell me about her.
She's an amazing woman. Honestly, even as her mother, I was always in awe of her because she was so brilliant but not aloof. She was beautiful but not conceited. She was gifted but didn't come across as entitled. She was so many things that were good. She's an amazing person.
Yeah. I love this subtitle. I believe that the title of books, I've written a few in my career, and I believe that the title ought to give some indication of what the reader is going to get. And that title, by the time you read this, of course, refers to the text message, which I'll get to in a moment here. But that subtitle, the subtitle just jumped out at me, April. The space between Chesley's smile and mental illness. That the space between her smile and mental illness. Just sort of unpack that subtitle for me.
Yes. We could not think of the proper description for this book. It wasn't a full story. It was kind of a memoir. But there's so many people who only knew the public-facing Chesley from Extra or USA and the smile, but I knew that my also battled a mental illness. And she did a beautiful job in that book of really talking about what was going on in her head with her emotions during so many moments in her life, that to just refer to it as a space seemed most fitting.
No, it was beautifully done. It jumped out at me, and it made me sort of start to unwrestle what that meant. And when I got inside the book, give me some sense of when you knew, as her mother, that she was battling with mental illness.
Chesley was Chesley, and her desire to achieve at the highest levels did not start when she was an adult. It started when she was a child. And so there was only one, kind of speed that I knew Chesley. And so there were many times she would be doing things and seem a little tired, but why wouldn't she be? She was an athlete, she was an academic, she was social. It was not until she was in law school that I vividly remember looking at her. We were on a family trip to Hilton Head, and she did not seem herself. And I asked her what was going on, what was wrong, and was she okay? And she just quickly dismissed it to, she was really fatigued from studying for her exam in law school. And, as her mom, I love her. I want to believe what she tells me. And so I went with that. And it was a few weeks later when she had her first attempt. And that's when I knew something's not okay.
The book is called, by the time you read this, The Space Between Chesley's Smile and mental illness. Her story in her own words. It's written by Chesley Christ and her mother, April Simpkins, who is our guest right now, and I'm glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze Fruit on the Go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn
Getting
more.
quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. ziprecruiter.com/free.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of April Simpkins coming your way right now. The book is called By the Time You Read This, The Space Between Chesley's Smile and Mental Illness. It is the story of her precious daughter, Chesley Christ, former Miss USA, and the story that we all know of her mental illness and her death on January 30th, 2022. So, April, this is tough for me, but let me just go right at it. This text message. This text, by the time you get this, I won't be alive anymore. And it makes me even more sad to write this because I know it will hurt you the most. Can you talk to me about that text?
Yes. Honestly, it was the toughest anything I've ever read in my life. Chesley and I, prior to her passing, had a very serious and deep conversation about death, dying, and suicide because a close friend of our family lost her son earlier in the month of January. And of course, there was another high-profile celebrity who had lost her son to suicide. And so Chesley and I had this conversation, and she said a lot of things to me to encouraged me. I told her I didn't know how any mother could bear the pain of losing a child, and my heart went out to those women. And so when she left me that text message, when I finally did read through it, I realized that she was taking the time to explain to me what she couldn't say to me about the depth of her pain, but that she loved me. And those words were there to comfort me, and they did. And they do.
Yeah. I was about to ask, do they still comfort you today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you saw, if I'm getting too sensitive here, if it's getting too sensitive, tell me and I'll back up. I promise. But when you saw that, obviously a text message it's electronic. She's there. You're here. I assume at the moment you were miles away from her, many miles away from her. Like in that moment, like when you read that, what did you do? How did you process? How did you move, knowing what you had read, but you're nowhere near your baby?
Yeah, there were a lot of things processing for me, and after Chesley passed, I started meeting with my own counselor weekly because the trauma of that day does not allow me to remember it like a motion picture. I remember it in snapshots. And I think that's the beautiful way that our brains protect us from extreme pain and trauma. But I remember when I saw that message, it wasn't just seeing that message, Tavis, it was seeing the timestamp and knowing that she'd sent it at 7 and it was now after 8 o'clock. And I remember, going to my house and just going in the door and screaming to my husband to call the police, and still wanting to hang on to the hope that she was going to be found in her apartment. They were going to treat her, and we were going to get to New York to see her. That is what I hung on to, even though it's like my body knew that she was not here. And I just lingered in that place. It took me a while before I could read that message all the way through.
Yeah.
It took a while.
I want to move past this in a second, I promise. But it is not always the case. I've had a number of these conversations. They're difficult to have, but I've had a number of them over the course of my career, as you can imagine. And not everyone who makes this decision, who makes that choice, leaves a note. And people are often left wondering and trying to process and trying to piece things together. I would assume, and you sort of intimated this earlier, I would assume there is some comfort in just knowing that she took the time to write that note to you. Yes?
Yes. Yes, 100%. And, even in the book, I still only included a large portion of the note, but there was more. She left passwords. She left all kind of information. It was clear that she was thinking this through. There was a message of love to our family, her siblings. This was not, her caught in an emotional moment and making a snap decision. And, I learned that after I got her electronic devices. And I think at some point it did give me comfort to know that this wasn't a moment. This wasn't a quick split-second decision. And she was tired. She was tired of fighting.
So here's, and when I got inside the book, I was looking for an answer for this, and I must admit, I still didn't find it. I'm still wrestling with this, but I want to ask anyway. I don't know how to process that she took the time, as you lay out in detail, to do all of that, to send you messages for you and your family, to send you the passwords. To your point, this was not a snap or rush decision. She thought about this. She processed her way through it. Others, again, don't have that sort of searching for a word here. It's not as organized, as hers was. How do I read that? More importantly, it's not about me. How do you read the fact that it was so laid out, so methodical, so thought through?
I know that she battled persistent depression for years. And one thing I will say about dysthymia or persistent depressive disorder, it is something that you are wrestling with every day for her. It is not a major depressive event where you're going to use your tools and try to get to the other side. Every day for her was a decision to be with us. And she said as much in her final text message. And when I go back and I read it, and she says, I've wished for death for years, and you kept me alive. No, when I read her words, she's clear that she was tired. You know, she said that depression was going to win this round. And it did.
I was in a conversation with some people yesterday, and I hope I won't get in trouble for asking this. I think, as I sense your spirit, I think that you'll accept it in the way I'm offering it and give me your honest response. And if I'm wrong for this, forgive me in advance. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. But I was in a conversation with people yesterday, and when they were asking me who's on the show tomorrow, and I did the rundown, and they said, "Oh, that's the mother of," I said, "Yeah, that's her. She has a book out. She's on the show tomorrow." And one of the persons in the group said, "Suicide is so selfish. It's so selfish." And you've heard that before. I've heard that before. But I really got into a deep dialogue with these persons yesterday when that comment was made, because I understand what people mean when they reflexively say that. And yet, until you, first of all, I don't believe that anything is, I don't believe you can be so generic about anything, so general as it were about anything. These cases are case by case situations. But I certainly understand the reflexive nature of those who say, "Oh my God, suicide is so selfish. Look what she did to her mother and to her father and to the people who loved her, her siblings, et cetera, et cetera." And it's only through the prism of preparing for this conversation that I've started to rethink that notion of whether or not we should say so reflexively and so quickly that suicide is selfish. I don't know what the question is there, but is there anything that resonates with you about that? Or you want to respond to that in any way?
Yeah. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's selfish if you think you own that person or you have an entitlement to that person and they've somehow made a decision without you that's going to affect you. That might make it feel selfish. But when I know how hard my daughter fought every single day to be here, I can't look at it through that lens. I said this in the book after her first attempt, that I begged and prayed to God to let her live and just give me more time with her. And he did. How could I rest on selfishness when Chesley said, "I wanted death for years, but you kept me alive, and I begged God for more time, and I got more time." I don't see it as selfish. I see every single day that she was here as a gift, and I won't look at it any other way. I think people die by suicide for a number of different reasons. Some because they really believe that they are the burden and they are removing the pain from someone else. And for some, like Chesley, the pain is just so great. It's just so great. I can't be mad at her. I said that in the book. She didn't do this to me. This was a woman who was in a lot of pain. And we understand that somehow when someone has a physical ailment that is crushing and painful, and we look at it as peace. They're passing as peace. And Chesley was battling a mental illness. I can't look at that as selfish.
I was scared to ask that question. It may be only the second or third time in my career. I was thinking about this just as you were speaking. The number of times in my career when I've actually been frightened to ask a particular question, and I was a little scared to ask that one. I didn't want to offend you in any way, and I didn't know what your answer would be or how you'd process it. But that is the most brilliant response that I could have ever expected to that particular question, and it allows me, and I think the audience, a different way to process those who are in this kind of pain. and make that decision. I will noodle and marinate the rest of the day on that particular comment that they oftentimes see themselves as the burden on other people. And so in their
Mhm.
mind, it's anything but selfish. It's loving.
Right.
It's embracing.
Mhm.
It's giving peace and comfort to those persons who they think they are being a burden to. Never ever ever thought about it in that way. So I will say, although I was scared, April, I'm glad I asked, and I appreciate more the answer that you gave me. Let me spend the last 5 minutes I have here moving forward, because once this happens, and I recognize you don't close on the death of a loved one like you close on a house. I get that. And to your
Mhm.
very first comment in this conversation, today is a good day. You feel good today. I understand it. Again, there are good days and some days that are not so easy to navigate. And yet, life goes on, and you are proof of that.
Yes.
This book is proof of that. And you are doing all kinds of righteous work now. So, talk to me about that part. When you are faced with a situation, when your daughter leaves you a last wish, and you want to honor that, and you then just kind of restructure your life and become an advocate and start engaging this issue in ways that you never expected to. Talk to me about that part of the journey.
Absolutely, because we need to talk about it. And I think back to that Allure article that Chesley wrote when she made the decision to not talk about why she was in the hospital for 8 days, and it was a suicide attempt, because she did not want that weaponized against her by trolls. And that's when I think to myself, we need to talk about this more so that people are not afraid to step forward and say, I have this challenge and I'm getting help for it. And especially in our community, we have to talk about it. And so I have made that decision to turn my pain into passion and power and talk about mental health and mental illness out loud in public spaces.
Mm. And tell me more about the foundation and the work that you're doing in that regard.
I'm so excited. Thank you for asking. Chesley was one of the most giving people I'd ever met. She'd give her time. She'd give any resource she had. And I wanted to honor her and continue a legacy for her. And so all the net proceeds will go to the Chesley C. Christ Foundation, which we have founded in her honor. And the money that comes in will go right back out to other nonprofits whose mission is to support the mental health and well-being of our teens and young adults.
Mm. And how are your other? I'm just curious. You've given us some insight as to how, as her mother, you have navigated this. But how's the rest of the family dealing and doing?
You know, everyone grieves differently, and I learned that right after Chesley passed when we were all in my home. And the children are processing. You know, her older siblings grew